everyone. It's Bible study time. Yay. I just want to make sure I got everything right here. Okay. All right. So I'm super excited coming forward with the Bible study for you all today, as I always am. But as anything, let's get the business out of the way. Please, if you find any of my content thought-provoking, if you find it inspiring, if you find it necessary, if you find it relevant, I ask that you please subscribe, that you tell a friend, that you share it and bless someone else's timeline with it. I come forward with truths, spiritual truths that God lays on me. These truths are not my truths. This is not my thing. This is a thing that God put upon me to deliver. And I just am a vessel, and I just follow, and I do my part. So please bless someone's timeline with it if you find it relevant, thought-provoking, or necessary, okay? We're going to have a really interesting Bible study today. I am still in the book of Isaiah, but I'm going to be cross-referencing some other books that we've already traveled through, because this conversation will reflect all of which, not all of which, but a lot of a talking point that we have passed already in the book, and that God has spoken to me today to speak to. So, me being the humble servant as I am, I'm just following what Spirit is moving me to do. And so today we will be speaking out of the book of Isaiah. We will be speaking out of chapter 37, verse 21 through 35 is where we will begin, and we will be cross-referencing some other books, and I will establish what those are when we get to that, okay? So let's begin by invoking the Spirit of God to help me in the discernment of God's word today, okay? Heavenly Father, I come before you in love, seeking your truth through the many pages of this book. Please cover me and use me as your vessel, as a conduit in which your truth can be expounded upon and laid at the feet of the children. Work through me, please. Show me the way. Put the words in my mouth that you deem necessary to be spoken today. I love you so deeply, and I thank you. I am forever grateful. Cover this space and protect this space. Guide and direct me as I discern your word to the children. In love, I come before you. Amen. All right. Okay, you guys. So I was reading, I was reading today, and I was like, okay, Father, show me where you want me to begin with this, because like I said, the book of Isaiah is packed with just a number of different gems and jewels, spiritual gems and spiritual jewels that, they're just precious. This book is written so long ago that a lot of times we forget how old this book is. And even if you crack it open to whatever area of the book you open it to, whatever you read will be relevant to you in your life right now today. That's how powerful this book is. So, moving forward, we're going to be speaking to the book of Isaiah, chapter 37, verse 21 through 35, okay? And I think I'll just begin, because I don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm just going to go for it. All right, verse 21, chapter 37. Then Isaiah the son of Amos sent unto Hezekiah, saying, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, whereas thou hast prayed to me against Sennacherib king of Assyria, this is the word which the Lord hath spoken concerning him. The virgin daughter of Zion hath despised thee, and laughed thee to scorn. The daughter of Jerusalem hath shaken her head at thee. Whom hast thou reproached in blasphemy? And against whom hast thou exalted thy voice, and lifted up thine eyes on high, even against the Holy One of Israel? By the servants hast thou reproached the Lord, and hast said, By the multitude of my chariots am I come up to the height of the mountains, to the sides of Lebanon, and I will cut down the tall cedars thereof, and the choice fir trees thereof. And I will enter into the heights of his border and the forest of his Carmel. And I have digged and drunk water, and with the sole of my feet have I dried up all the rivers of the besieged places. Hast thou not heard long ago how I have done it, and of ancient times that I have formed it? Now have I brought it to pass that thou shouldest be to lay waste defenced cities into ruinous heaps? Therefore the inhabitants were of small power. They were dismayed and confounded. They were as the grass of the field, and as the green herb, as the grass on the housetops, and as corn blasted before it be grown up. But I know thy abode, and thy going out, and thy coming in, and thy rage against me, because thy rage against me and thy tumult is come up into my ears. Therefore will I put my hook in thy nose, and my bridle in thy lips, and I will turn thee back the way by which thou camest. And this shall be a sign unto thee. Ye shall eat this year such as groweth of itself, and the second year that which springeth of the same. And in the third year sow ye, and reap, and plant vineyards, and eat the fruit thereof. And the remnant that is escaped of the house of Judah shall again take root downward, and bear fruit upward. Hallelujah. For out of Jerusalem shall go forth a remnant, and they that escape out of Mount Zion, the zeal of the Lord of hosts shall do this. Therefore thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not come into this city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with shields, nor cast a bank against it. By the way that he came, by the same shall he return, and shall not come into this city, saith the Lord. For I will defend this city to save it for my own sake, and for my servant David's sake. Whew. Y'all. So, we covered this already in, what was this? Chronicles? But in going through the book of Isaiah, it has repeated itself in a generous portion. Actually, all of it is repeated. The troubles the children had when Sennacherib sent Rabshakeh upon the children to intimidate them and to make them give up. God is speaking this to me. It has been on my spirit all week. And it's come to me in bits and pieces. God has spoken this to me in the form of this story of Sennacherib sending Rabshakeh upon the children to make the children quit, to make the children forfeit all hope and just give up. See, the story goes that, if you don't know, I will explain it to you, that Assyria was the giant. Assyria was like America. Assyria was the king. It was the strongest country in the world. And they had a phenomenal record of defeating nations, mighty nations, and taking no prisoners. They really weren't involved in expanding their territory. They were a war community. They were the type of people that would come upon you and attack you and make a name for themselves as a fearful opponent. They had a reputation, a strong reputation for defeating people. So their reputation kind of overshadowed really who they were. So when you would say the Assyrians are coming, you would get shook. And they capitalized off of this. This is what they used to intimidate people. And they've come upon the children in this huge convention. All of these many men on horses with all this regalia and with all this might and with all these intimidation tactics. And they're sitting on these strong, tall horses because they had the best. They went about the world attacking people and taking their fortunes. So they had amassed great wealth. So they had the best of the best. So when they came upon the children, when they came upon the scribes and the head of the house and all of these different leaders of the children, they came in a powerful way. And the children are all standing there around listening, and all the mighty men of Israel are all around listening, and they're hearing what the Assyrians are saying. So much so that the scribe and the head of the house and the recorder and all of these powerful people that are in charge of the government, the governing body of the children, are saying, look, just talk to us in your language, because our brethren and sistren don't understand it. We don't want them to know what you're saying, because we don't want you to break their confidence. This is a birthing time that these children are in. Hezekiah had just renewed renewed the law of Moses. They had just found it. The children had just found out that they were living in condemnation of the law. They didn't even know that they were outside of the law. It took Hezekiah, by way of Isaiah, to come upon the knowledge that the children had been living in transgression. And they knew that they were transgressing because they knew they were in a terrible state. But they didn't know how much. Now, through Isaiah, the prophet, Hezekiah has come upon this information. He has something solid that he can reference. He has the power of a blessed prophet that has come from amongst the children, and that God can use to direct and show the way to. And that prophet can speak it to Hezekiah, and Hezekiah, having the integrity within himself, took it upon himself to run it and to implement it. And they have just begun implementation of this activity as a group, as a unit. They are all in agreement. What they have done is a miraculous thing. They have taken it upon themselves to say, you know what? We are going to rebuild the temple of Jerusalem. And they are on fire. Let me back up. They are in agreement that they will begin to do whatever it takes to get in alignment with God. And now here comes a host from amongst the nations, the mightiest of them. The mightiest of them. Because remember, the children have no friends. If you think Israel has a friend, you're crazy. Israel has not had a friend ever. So now that when they were broken, nobody was thinking about them. But now that they are getting back in alignment by way of Isaiah, prophesying to Hezekiah, now they have direction. They got something tangible that they can work with and say, this is the truth. We've been searching around in the darkness all these years looking for the truth because we've fallen so low. We have forgotten what is acceptable and what is not. And we're surrounded by enemies that want to keep us in a perpetual state of darkness and confusion. So we're constantly thinking we're doing the right thing and doing the right things, and we're taking scraps off other people's tables when we have all of the talent. We're fighting against one another. We are broken. We don't trust one another. We don't adhere to any of the laws. We don't honor our true God because we've forgotten the name of our father and our mother. And they have the spirit in them that yearns to know. They know that something is missing. So they're reaching and they're taking all of these different things that are not of God. So God works through Isaiah. God proves Isaiah. God has Isaiah walking around Ethiopia and Egypt naked, without a shoe or anything covering his loins for 3 years. He walks amongst the people. There are times in your life, friend, where God will lay you naked in front of folks. Will have you naked, bare, naked. And there's nothing you can do about it. These are testing periods. Have you ever been in a state in your life where you felt naked and vulnerable? and exposed to strangers that didn't know your story, that didn't know the history you had before you got to that place, that judged you from that moment, not knowing the wealth, not knowing the abundance of knowledge and experiences and of culture and of wisdom and of exploits, of spirituality that you've had before you got to that place. These people looking at Isaiah, Isaiah has a record and a history of aligning to the truest nature, the nature of things before the flood, before the Adam and Eve, before all of the transgressions, the truest nature. Isaiah has set itself apart premeditatively. Isaiah went off into the wilderness and lived away from the people because things had gotten so bad. It had gotten so bad that because his way of life was so different, it was bringing attention to him. And now instead of sitting amongst them and trying to convert them, it was better for him to go away. It was better. It was safer for him in the sense that he could not be turned by any of it. And it was safer for him because he didn't stick out so much. Because now the world had been corrupted. And if you don't go with the way of the world, then the world attacks you. All of the mighty prophets that have come and have spoken truths to these children, they have attacked. Every last one of the prophets that have come up amongst them, that are just like them. The children expect them to be some mightier than they. And they attack them for being similar to them, but showing a different characteristic. I'm going to support that. So, Hezekiah has done a mighty thing by way of Isaiah. Without Isaiah, Hezekiah could not have done any of what he did. That is my opinion. I will support that. If you read the book of Isaiah, you will see it. Isaiah is the directing hand. Isaiah is the conduit in which God is working through to direct Hezekiah. What prophets, what conduit do the children have to direct them? Because whatever conduit, whatever prophet, whatever one that comes from amongst them, whoever that person is, they are the directing hand leading them on their journeys through life, even till now. Even right now. None of the prophets that have come came from the sky. None of them that came from just out of the air. Nowhere in the scripture does it say a spaceship landed and they came out and there were some aliens on there that directed the children. All of the prophets that have come and directed the children were of the children, because the Spirit of the living God is with every last one of the children. It is an internal game. Yet the Spirit of the living God, friend, cannot move in certain people because they have compounded different elements upon themselves that limit the movement of the Spirit. This is the struggle. This is why Isaiah and the rest of the prophets left and went out into the wilderness. It was not that they just wanted to go live off the earth and be nature people and, say I'm better than you because I live in the nature, in the forest, and I don't eat meat, and I you know, only drink coconut water and water out of a running spring. It wasn't because of that. That is all vanity. That is all stuff that we put together in our minds to make us feel better than one another. It's separatist stuff. The fundamentals as to why they moved away from the major cities to the wilderness areas, to the remote areas, is because they needed to keep the vessel clean. They needed to keep any distractions, anything that can corrupt the integrity of the Spirit of God moving within them, away from them. That is the main reason that they decided to separate themselves. And in doing so, they could prophesy. They can get revelations from God, clearer, stronger revelations, because I keep telling you, there are many gods, friend. If you're thinking that there's just one God running around here, you are misled. There are many gods. There are many spirits. And all of them need a vessel. All of them. This is the science of how spirituality works when interacting with a human. So in order to keep your vessel righteous and in order to keep your vessel clean, you have to limit the input. You have to limit what you allow in, whether by the sight, by the eyes, by what you hear. You have to be able to control that environment. If you look at Adam and Eve, if you look at Eve in the garden, the serpent, by way of the devil, was able to do so much with Eve because she allowed it in. He spoke to her. He gave her an idea that made perfect sense to her. And she allowed it to germinate in her mind. She allowed it in, and it began to multiply and find different ways for it to go further within her, provoking her to act. I'm going to keep going. This is why Isaiah and the other prophets that were with Isaiah decided to separate themselves. Okay? So, God is angry. He's speaking to, in this text, we're going to use the analogy of Sennacherib and the Assyrians coming upon the children. And God is saying to the children, by way of Isaiah, this is Isaiah talking. Now, prior to this, you all, as I said, the Assyrians have come and they've intimidated the children. But not so much. Because see, when the Spirit of God moves in you, friend, it could be just a little bit of the Spirit. You might not be standing in the totality of the knowledge of God, but there is a pride. There is something that happens within your will. I'm just using my own experiences. I want to say it's pride, but it's not just pride. It's something ancestral. It's something that comes upon you in your will when you know that you are in alignment with God. When you know that God is in agreement with you. Irregardless to what you've done in the past, all of that. When you get to the point and you know that God is in agreement with you, even though he knows all about you, even a little bit of agreement is a powerful thing, friend. It makes your back sit up straight. You can leap tall buildings with a single bound. It is the most empowering thing. Just with a little bit of knowledge that if God be for me, who could be against me? Who? Who? It makes all the stuff that mattered before insignificant. You don't even have to have a prize in mind. The prize is knowing that God is with you, not wondering, not hoping, knowing. This is a knowing thing. Faith is good, not knocking faith. But when you know, it's another game. It's not even a game. It's another room. It's another house. So these children have done the work. They know that they have come into the knowledge of truth by way of finding the law of Moses. There's no doubt. There's no shadow. They have come into the knowledge of a firm foundation. There's no more feeling our way down the hallway and hoping that, this is right. It makes sense. Okay, yep, this makes sense. But so we're going to go with this. And we hope this is really what God wants us to be doing. This ain't that. They had come into the knowledge of the law. They got that law right there and they are able to read it. It's not written in some weird language they don't understand, and they hope that the person that's knowledgeable of interpreting it is interpreting it correctly. None of that. They begin. And pride is the first thing that sets in. Love, pride. Pride is unity. Pride is we lock together. We're locked in. Nothing else matters. I need you to imagine this. You got to empathize. Imagine if you found out the truth of what the law of God is. If you got the facts, not some weird tablet somewhere written in a language you don't know. No. And you know that God, you got the facts, and you know, okay, these are the things I need to do. These are the things that I've been needing to do. And my heart has been telling me that this is what I need to do. But I didn't know. See, the thing with knowledge is that when it exposes itself to you, you don't have a cop-out. And this is what makes people so angry when they come across knowledge and they come across truth. They don't want to know, because in knowing, it requires you to act. So you have many prophets that come and that will tell you the truth, even in all of their struggles. And in them coming before you and telling you the truth, they're putting themselves in a compromised situation, because they know that the people that don't want you to know the truth will attack them. And they know that you, being so programmed and so boggled down in all of the nonsense, will be the main ones to fight them. So a lot of them, many, won't even come forward and tell you the truth. It's easier just to say, no, I'm not going to. Why do I care? Why would I do that to myself? For what? Look at the history of all of those that have come before and told the truth. Isaiah himself will be one of them for telling the children the truth, because they don't want to know. It is expensive to tell the truth, friend. So, when Hezekiah hears all of this from the scribe and all of them, he takes, the first thing he does is he takes it, he puts it, he lays it all down in front of his altar of God. And he says, Father, I need you to look at this. I've done everything I can do. I need you to look at this. I need your attention on this. And he says, and Hezekiah received the letter from the hand of the messengers and read it. And Hezekiah went up into the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed unto the Lord, saying, O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, that dwellest between the cherubims, thou art the God, even thou alone. All the kingdoms of the earth, even thou hast made heaven and earth. Incline thy ear and hear, open thine eyes, O Lord, and see and hear all the words of Sennacherib, which have sent to reproach the living God. All he did was went and told God about it. He went and told his daddy. He didn't take it upon himself to try to figure it out. He didn't go and say, oh my God, I gotta give up. Oh, I'm gonna go and pack my bags and leave because this is too much. I'm tired of this. Like many of us will do. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to get to a certain age in your life and then be burdened with the responsibilities of leading these rebellious children that do not want the truth. And not even leading them. Because do you not think Hezekiah needed to be led? Hezekiah was born into this. Do you think he wanted this responsibility? It's a huge responsibility. And if he didn't do it, and if he forfeited his responsibility, if he reneged, then he gets the wrath of God, worse than the children. Worse. It's a hostage situation. I mean, there's no other word for it. Many of us want to look at these prophets and all of the leaders as if they are some special people. They are no different than the rest of the children. They just have a different calling. They have a different responsibility. And they are held to a higher degree of responsibility. Do you not think Hezekiah wanted to go out and kick back like the rest of the children and do the minimal thing like the rest of the children? Do you think that he woke up every day inspired and with some special superpower that the rest of the children didn't have? No. He has support. But what if he didn't have support? Oh my goodness. He has Isaiah as a one-on-one, not some shady, shadowy figure that he has to mind read and use subliminals to read. He has a one-on-one mentor. But what if he didn't have that? Could you imagine how exhausting that would be? Could you? Look at David and Nathan. Nathan was necessary is an understatement. Nathan was, David did a phenomenal thing because David had heart and David had courage and David looked to do the righteous thing. But David had counsel. David had people prepping him, showing him, you don't want to do this with this. You don't want to do this with God. This is not about you. You need to lead these children this particular way. Because if not, this is what happens. He had counsel. Without counsel, David would have definitely, I doubt David would have made it as successfully as he did. He triumphantly, surely, because David had heart, he had integrity, he had courage, and he loved God. But it was his counsel that assisted him and adhering to the laws of God while in a fleshly body and dealing with fleshly, earthly situations. Nathan was extremely necessary for David's success. And this is what I'm leading to with this, is that all of these mighty people that lead the children and that will continue to lead the children are only mighty by the prophets that they are blessed to have. There needs to be a conduit, an intermediary between God and the children. And every last one of them that come forward, every last one of them, the children just do them dirty. As if they are supposed to adhere to some certain criteria that they themselves cannot ever adhere to. Who are your vessels in your life that are your intermediaries between you and God? Is it you? Because a lot of times it is you. A lot of times nowadays, friend, there are no prophets amongst us that are really, that we acknowledge as prophets. A lot of the prophets that come from amongst us, we don't acknowledge. We don't even see them as prophets. We don't. And then the ones that do come, they don't call themselves prophets. They don't, because they don't see themselves as that either. They're just like you. Yet they walk with God very closely. And they come forward with information out of love. Regardless to culture, regardless to ethnicity, out of love for humankind. To say, look, wait, you guys, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. This is not helping us here. We're not progressing. We're backtracking. And then we look around and we see how they get treated, and it discourages many from doing it. Yet God moves still. God still moves. A lot of times when the prophets come forward and speak the truth, the children would rather hear a lie, because the truth requires activity. You cannot unknow something. And this is what makes the prophets public enemy number one. The children will conspire against them. They will lie on them. They will create all kind of fake scenarios to get them caught up, to discredit them. And for what? Just so that they can stay in the state of utter transgression. I'll support that. We're going to go back to Isaiah chapter 30. And we'll go verse 7 through 9. For the Egyptians help in vain and to no purpose. Therefore have I cried concerning this. Their strength is to sit still. Sometimes your strength is to sit in the corner, friend. You ever had to sit in the corner? You ever been in a situation, God ever put you in a situation where you couldn't do nothing but sit in the corner? Regardless to what's going on around you, regardless to how you look, how you're interpreted, you just got to sit in the corner and let it go. Get mocked, misunderstood, ridiculed, knowing that none of it is you, knowing that there's so much more to you than that meets the eye, but you can't express it. You don't get the chance to show it. So you sit there. Because a lot of times, friend, in certain seasons in your life, the most powerful place for you is a space of silence. Verse 8, now go write it before them in a table and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord. Verse 10, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophecy deceits. That's what they say. They say, don't tell us the truth.
Yes.
Don't tell us the truth. Tell us what we want to hear. It says here, which say to the seers, see not, and prophecy, and to the prophets, prophecy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things, prophecy deceits. God is saying, Isaiah is saying, don't tell us the truth. Tell us lies. I'll love you if you don't tell me the harsh things. Don't tell me like it is. Don't tell me like it is. Tell me smooth things. Prophecy me deceits. That's how far down they've gotten. They can't handle the truth. They are so far into transgression that the truth is disrespectful to them. You're disrespecting them if you tell them the truth. I'm telling you. I'll go even further. 1 Kings, chapter 22, verse 4. Now, this is when the king of Israel is negotiating with Jehoshaphat to combine armies and to go to war. And Jehoshaphat is a wise man in the sense because all the nations know the struggles of the children. And Jehoshaphat is saying, okay, I know what your troubles are. I know your history. I know your troubles. We need to let's get a word from God to see if this will be a good pact or agreement for us to come together. Okay? We need to get a word from God because I know that you got situations going on and y'all are out of alignment with this God of Israel. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. Verse 4. And he said to Jehoshaphat, wilt thou go with me to battle at Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, I am as thou art, my people as thy people, my horses thy horses. And Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Israel, inquire, I pray thee, at the word of the Lord today. Let's ask God about it. Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said unto them, shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they said, go up, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of the Lord besides the ones that besides them 400? There's no others you got? That we might inquire of him? Now listen, for Jehoshaphat to say that, he just had 400 prophets pledge that it was okay to go to battle. Jehoshaphat is saying, okay, well, it seems cool, but is there anyone else outside of these 400? Now that should tell you something right there. It should tell you something about the character of Jehoshaphat. And it should tell you something about what Jehoshaphat thinks of the character of the king. The fact that Jehoshaphat is still troubled and going to wage war with the king of Israel, even though he has had 400 of his men, prophets, pledge that he will win. That's telling me that maybe Jehoshaphat doesn't believe that the king's people really love him. Maybe Jehoshaphat feels that the king only has yes men around him. He only has people around him that agree with him. He has no one around him that gives him counsel outside of what he wants to hear. So they're all afraid of him. They're all on his payroll. And so they're all going to lead him astray because he wants to be led astray. He does not appreciate challenges. He does not honor the truth. And I will support that as well. And Jehoshaphat said, "Is there not a prophet of the Lord besides that we might inquire of him?" And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, "There is yet one man, Micaiah, the son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of the Lord. But I hate him, for he doeth not prophecy good concerning me, but evil." He don't agree with me. He don't tell me what I want to hear. And Jehoshaphat said, "Let not the king say so." Then the king of Israel called an officer and said, "Hasten hither Micaiah, the son of Imlah." Bring him here. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, sat each on his throne, having put on their robes, in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Samaria. And all the prophets prophesied before them. And Zedekiah, the son of Chenaanah, made him horns of iron. And he said, "Thus saith the Lord, with these shalt thou push the Syrians until thou have consumed them." And all the prophets prophesied so, saying, "Go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the king's hand." I'm going to stop there. Zedekiah comes and he's taken the time to make horns of iron. Imagine this. He's standing out there with the horns and he's saying, "Thus saith the Lord, with these shalt thou push the Syrians until thou have consumed them." So now it's a show. This is a spell. He's firing them up. He's spellbinding them. He's got the imagery. These horns, you're going to go and you're going to push them back and you're going to do all of this and all of that. Because all the king wants is to hear what he wants to hear. And all the years that these prophets have been bowing to this king, they have learned this king more than this king has learned them. They are on the king's payroll. Yet, they know the nature of the king. They know that I can't really tell him the truth because if I tell him, he's probably gonna throw me in prison, have me killed. So I don't want to tell him the truth. I'm going to tell him what he wants to hear, even if it's to his detriment. Something as major as this, they are leading this king by lies to his demise. And the king is okay with it. How many people do you know that would rather hear a lie, that feel safer around a group of people that lie to them? They feel safer around the lies than the truth. How do you get to that place where you would rather accept a lie? Let's go. Then it said all the prophets, even the rest of them came. Because when Zedekiah came forward with all the show and the pageantry, the rest of them said, we're not as powerful as Zedekiah, but we're still prophets. So we're all a part of the prophet group. I'm not going to be the only prophet telling the king the truth. I'm just going to go with it. So if we're all wrong, the likelihood of us all getting punished is highly unlikely. So we'll just keep it as a group. And the messenger that was gone to call Micaiah spoke unto him, saying, Behold, now the words of the prophets declare good unto the king with one mouth. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good. So he's intimidated. He's trying to lead Micaiah, without saying it, to follow suit. One group, one suit, one group, one sound. Everybody follow each other. This is what he's saying, without saying it. I'm going to read it one more time. And the messenger that was gone to Micaiah spoke unto Micaiah, saying, Behold, now the words of the prophets declare good unto the king with one mouth. They're telling the king, go forward with this joint venture with Jehoshaphat to go to war against these people. You're going to win. All of them are saying this. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good. So let me tell you what Micaiah does. And Micaiah said, As the Lord liveth, what the Lord saith unto me, that will I speak. Verse 15. So he came to the king, and the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go against Ramoth-Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him. The first thing he said to him, he told him what he wanted to hear. He did exactly as the king's man told him to do. And he answered him, Go and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king. Told him what he wanted to hear. And the king said unto him, How many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of the Lord? Even the king knew he was lying. Even the king knew he was lying. How many people are amongst you? You ever have somebody around you, that one sore thumb, that tells you the truth, that you always know is going to come with something that is just not what you want to hear? For me, it was my mom, and it's my dad. Like if I ask them something, I gotta wait a while to ask them, because I know they're gonna hit me with the facts. They're not gonna spare me. They're gonna hit me with the facts, and they're gonna go all the way in detail. Micaiah was this to the king. So when the king asked him the first time, he said, Yeah, go and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into thy hand. And the king is like, it might have been the way you said it. Yeah, go, prosper. The Lord will deliver it into thy hand. But the king knew it wasn't right. And he says, and the king said unto him, How many times shall I adjure thee, until thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of the Lord? And he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills, as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. Micaiah kept going. He said, Well, heck, since you asked, I'm going to keep going, because you asked. And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth-Gilead? And one said on this manner, and the other said on that manner. And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. Now therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee. But Zedekiah, the son of Chenaanah, went near and smote Micaiah on his neck, slapped him, and said, which way went the Spirit of the Lord from me to speak unto thee? He went and slapped him because Micaiah called him out and said, they're lying to you. All of them are in cahoots. They are lying to you because they have learned you. They cannot be trusted. Now Zedekiah comes and says, and slaps him and says, oh, well, since you know so much, which way did the evil spirit come? As if that mattered. Isn't that what people do? When they're lying, they come up with all kind of irrelevant stuff to try to discredit you. Stuff that doesn't even matter. Like, what difference does it make? Which way did the evil spirit come when I saw it in the vision? I don't know. Anything to discredit him, because now the spotlight is on them. And they have to try to find a way to wiggle out of it. So they're going to try to discredit you in any slander in any other kind of way. Let's keep going. And Micaiah said, behold, thou shalt see in that day when thou shalt go into an inner chamber to hide thyself. Ha! He said, you gonna know. Don't worry about it. I don't know. But you'll know when you go within yourself. You'll know. That's what he's saying. He's saying to Zedekiah, I'm not even gonna address that. You need to look within yourself and you'll see it. You'll know which way he went. All you got to do is go in your inner chamber, in your mind, in the heart of hearts, in your holiest of holies, and you will know. And the king of Israel said, take Micaiah and carry him back to Amon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son, and say, thus saith the king, put this fellow in prison and feed him with bread of affliction and with water of affliction until I come in peace. And Micaiah said, if thou return at all in peace, the Lord hath not spoken by me. And he said, hearken, O people, every one of you. I don't know where this came from today. I was reading it. It's been on my spirit all week. But it just came together for me today in reading Isaiah chapter 38. When it reintroduced me to the Sennacherib story. Because Sennacherib is a powerful, powerful story that I usually reference. If you guys listen to the Bible studies, I usually reference this Assyrians coming and intimidating the children. The hand of God is so matter of fact upon these children that they don't even, they are so accustomed to it that they don't even recognize it. They do not see it. And they have lost their way. At this point in the book of Isaiah, they have lost their way, but they will continue. They will continue, and there will be prophets upon prophets upon prophets. I'm talking about mighty men of valor that will come forward from these children, all through the hand of God to direct these children. And the things that they have done in the earth are mighty things that are not repeated. All of the many stories that we watch on the big screen in the movie theaters are all repetitive stories of the might of all of the people that have come amongst these children. The names are different, but the characters are all the same. The might that God has shown by way of these children are the mighty stories that make up this matrix. They are all the stories, all of the great stories of the men and women of renown that have come out of these children, out of the vine of these children. Is humbling. And when the children get a small dose of this information and allow it to resonate within them, miracles happen. Miracles. The children have been turned. But as Isaiah said, when he reminded Hezekiah of the power of God and he prophesied unto Hezekiah, when Hezekiah came and laid at the altar of God all of the letters that Sennacherib and the Assyrians had sent to intimidate the children, and Hezekiah said, that which we are about to birth may not birth. It is a terrible day because they have come and intimidated us. Hezekiah was more fearful than the children, because when Sennacherib came upon the children, Sennacherib promised the children as the serpent promised Eve and Adam. He said, hearken, Isaiah chapter 36, verse 16. Hearken not to Hezekiah, for thus saith the king of Assyria, make an agreement with me by a present. Give me something. And come out to me. Take it upon yourself to give up and come to me. And eat ye every one of his vine, and every one of his fig tree, and drink ye every one the waters of his own cistern. Do it how you want to do it this way. You can have it whatever you want. There are no rules over here. This has been the problem. And this is what got the children caught up from the beginning. Until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of corn and wine, and a land of bread and vineyards. Beware lest Hezekiah persuade you, saying, the Lord will deliver us. Hath any of the gods of the nations delivered his land out of the hand of the king of Assyria? He's mimicking the God of Israel. All of these, there are so many imposters. I want to wrap this up with this. I got to say this. You know, I look on social media. I had to stop looking around, y'all. I don't watch TV. Anybody that knows me knows I don't watch TV. I got a TV. I got TVs all over my house. I don't watch it. And I didn't really focus on social media up until about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. But I've noticed that there has been a tremendous amount of activity on social media that I allowed myself to put forward. And I had to just cut it. You know, it's just like, maybe because I have businesses that are now on social media and I'm looking to do things. So I started to expound a lot of attention on social media. And the algorithms began to notice, the systems began to notice what I pay attention to. And so every time I go on there, it's as if, people are, the people are posting things that are trying to catch my attention, which I know that's not the case, but it just seems like it because the algorithm is working that way. And so I would spend a lot of time on social media, and I just had to cut it. And I had to go within and say, okay, where are my thoughts springing forth from? Because that's not what I do. But I found myself in this cycle of doing it. And once I stopped, it was like a huge weight lifted off of me. Same way with these Assyrians. And anyone that comes amongst the children, they come in the form of imposters. They come in the form of imposters in the sense that they want your attention. They want to take your attention away from what you normally would be focused upon. So now you're distracted and you're focused on this, and your mind begins to wonder about all kind of insignificant nonsense surrounding that. When in the normal scheme of things, you wouldn't even be thinking about that. Your mind will be focused on what naturally springs forth from you. This goes back to what I said about Isaiah going into the wilderness with his other prophets. This is why the caves of life are so important. When you see the many prophets coming out of caves, the caves are your safe places because they limit the amount of interaction. They limit the amount of frequencies, energies. They limit the reach of them. When Elijah went and ran into the cave after Ahab and Jezebel, he was safe. The deception only came when he went to the mouth of the cave, when he walked out. Same with Isaiah. They had to distance themselves. So did the mighty other prophets of the children that separated themselves. The Spirit of God rests within you. It is not an outside game. It is all internal.